Welcome back, everyone, to Hearthstone Grandmasters European region. We have our last match coming right up for you, and it is going to be Seiko versus Jarla. Seiko just taking down Silvername in the previous matchup, which was a nice, long, drawn-out priest mirror, but both players had a ton to think about in that one. But we are going to be seeing this match coming up, and it is for that last spot. And so far today, Sottle, Jarla is 1-0 up versus Seiko after having played him in that opening match.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Seiko did have some game in the first matchup where he just kind of aggroed down with the priest, but things potentially now reset all the way back to the beginning because, again, these players have to queue up their primary strategies, which are not necessarily their optimal strategies in this matchup. We saw in the previous series they both rapidly switched to their secondary deck, which for Seiko is the same build that we saw in play in the previous series when given the opportunity. It's his anti-priest build that just so happens to be effective against Mage, whereas Jarla, I think specifically this is built to his secondary deck to be anti-priest, anti-druid, because those are two decks that we actually would have been expecting to come up against.
Right.
So maybe that does put Jarla in a more commanding position overall. It's hard to say, because he kind of has a more bespoke deck for the situation. But regardless, we will wait and see how things develop.
Yeah, and I will say, taking nothing away from Jarla whatsoever, the two wins he had versus Seiko to win the series were off the back of some pretty hefty outcomes, right?
Some nonsense, yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to be nice, and that's why you swoop in and just say the real truth.
Yeah.
But yeah, and like I said, Jarla played well, right? I'm not saying that at all, but he had some pretty powerful outcomes that almost soloed a game or two in the previous series. So although Jarla has beaten Seiko once today, by no means is this a given that he's going to do it again.
Quickly.
Here, though, so far, even an early decision point here, whether he wants to go for a more on-curve play with that Fey-Wing, or go for a something slower, and Seiko already locking in that Alex Straza for the quite late game, and then quite a futuristic setup here.
Futuristic setup?
Futuristic, yes. Same thing.
I guess. Acceptable, yeah, fine, sure.
Don't make me play the technically game with it. Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised by that because, I guess we're staring at one of the reasons why that would be rough to pick the Fey-Wing, because Firebrand does some good work versus that minion, but I don't know, does leave Seiko with not a lot to do.
Jarla here already very deep in the tank, as he is known to be. Seiko's core list does not play a Shadow Madness, which is certainly a huge consideration when you have gone Solarian on 2. Does mean that Jarla is free to play a second minion if he wants to. There's no threat of the Shadow Madness coming through.
Yeah, the drawback is if he wants to play Mana Saber next turn, then he's not proccing the Firebrand anyway.
Very true.
I think that's what he's thinking about, right? If he wants to really just drop this Mana Saber, which also dodges a Shadow Madness turn, regardless if it came up, then he just may as well, because I think going around it the other way could be a little bit worse, this Firebrand.
We saw this exact start happen, right? Card for card. The perspective was flipped. We had Jarla on the bottom last time around. But Kaj with an Astromancer inside it, with the Vile Fiend Dormant on the board beside it. I'm pretty sure we had this exact same game state, right the way down to the Devolving Missiles being in hand for Jarla as well. That's weird.
Yeah, and we'll see if he still goes for this Mana Saber, or yet again can go for the choice of Devolving Missiles just to remove this card.
Yeah. I think also last time it was the decision about whether to play a 4-drop instead of just going for the Devolving Missiles, right? I think on that case it was a Zero Explorer, which I think, Mana Saber arguably much more upside of being played out on curve here. Devolving Missiles is still just freakishly powerful in this board state, right?
Yeah. And then he could go Devolving and then have Firebrand afterwards, and then have Mana Saber with a potential Ray of Frost the turn after. So that would work with a preloaded Firebrand. I'm not saying it's great, but it would work a lot smoother than the previous options he had.
The issue is the awakening Fiend on the following turn. Which does create some problems. And I guess, yeah, this is an option now that I think about it, because he doesn't necessarily need to Devolving Missiles that turn to be able to prevent the Prime going in the deck. He's still capable of sniping it on a following turn.
Oh, okay. Devolving Missiles would have been huge there from Seiko. I always want to pick Ray of Frost, but I do think Combustion has a lot of merit here for Seiko as well. Just an additional removal tool. Whereas Ray of Frost is a little bit more stall focused, and I'm not really sure right now he needs to stall.
It's fair. It's good information for the future, though, if an Elucia turn is going to come up at any point in the near future, just to have that logged that Ray of Frost is currently in hand if it doesn't end up getting used. Because it's very possible that, you know, stall isn't needed right now, as you say, but it's possible in the future that an Elucia turn might need some stalling to go along with it, and that Ray of Frost is very useful information to have to be able to store in the bank.
Yeah, got to prepare for those futuristic turns. There is still a Devolving Missiles, which is pretty decent here. Because the attack of the Mana Saver could still open up a the 5-drop to be played anyway.
Yes. Yeah, I like this. I didn't spot this line immediately when we were examining the turn last turn, but, you know, because the only minion he was playing had stealth, he didn't really have to panic and break his curve with the Devolving Missiles, as we saw in the previous iteration of the same situation that I was talking about. It's a very different situation, actually, it turns out, because of the difference between the two minions, one of them having stealth and one of them not. Which means in this game state, Jarla can just play the stealth minion, and then, alright, fine, I'll just Devolving Missiles next turn. Should still be fine.
You fight me.
Definitely doesn't feel good to play Jandis into this board, though, does it? Because you know, two of those minions are already dead to these two 1/1s, so I do does look like it makes sense here from Jarla just to hold on, even though it probably feels a little bit bad to just not have your strictly most powerful like minion play on curve every turn. Nothing to gain here with the Cabal Acolyte. There's no combo, but there is a potential Firebrand coin. That doesn't quite add up
that
either.
Good, is it?
No.
So what you're going to do is leave a 3/1 Firebrand on the opponent's side of your board, like almost always, and then you know that just snipes your Firebrand on the backswing, because you've seen the spells are there for Jarla to be able to use.
So is what you're saying is Seiko should just Mind Render this turn?
No!
That's what I heard.
Fairly sure that's not what I said. It's what's going to happen.
Yes! Oh, I'm definitely getting a hold of this Mind Render play, so I feel it.
So what did he know? He knew about Ray of Frost Combustion, and then it was 3 mystery cards?
Yes.
Interesting. That's
I don't really know what to think about that.
good.
Is it that good?
I think so.
I mean, for me, it's good in the way that he removes the play from Seiko, but procs his Firebrand.
Clears the board, allows him to push face, and he's Highlander Mage. Like, Wave of Apathy is kind of the nuts against his deck. That's what my reaction is, right?
Yeah.
Because I think, like, Seiko gave him this hand because he knew that there wasn't really anything powerful that Jarla could do with it on the following turn. It was just kind of play one minion, be kind of mana inefficient, be done with it. Yeah, and you see the reaction, right? It's like, that was the top deck. He drew Wave of Apathy, which is an actually really important card, I think, for the matchup overall. So yeah, I think Seiko's whole motivation with the Elucia turn there was just to say, you know, there's nothing really punishing that Jarla does to me, even though my turn isn't that spectacular. And I personally found that Mind Render isn't that good in the matchup, so I can totally get behind that kind of usage of the card. But then the punish came with, one of his best resources, I think, overall, just coming off the top.
You don't pick the one, see?
You fight
Nice.
me, you get burned.
Okay, so the
Turn it up.
okay, the important part. I thought that was just going to snipe. Then I was like, what? The important part here for Seiko now is he needs to, and he will, of course, quickly realize that he is starting to go into his mega turns right now. Like, look at his hand. Like, he's going to do the powerful things, whereas Jarla, a lot less so. And to a certain extent, Seiko knows that because he just had Jarla's hand, so he knows what's in it.
Right.
So although that was a rough turn for Seiko, seeing that wave of apathy and the Acolyte get used, like, look at what he's got now. He's still going to be feeling confident about this game.
Yeah, for now, I think he'll be feeling fine.
All in due
His hand does get devalued slightly by the fact that Jarla has full information about it, so can kind of plan. He's not like he's ever really going to get got by a Murazond. He's never going to get got by a Galakron because he knows they're there. He knows to play around them.
works against me.
Oh, for me, it's much more an 8-8 on the board.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
It is just the big things that Jarla somehow has to deal with. And Seiko did use up those Ray of Frosts, remember, as well. So it's one of those great tools for stalling big minions is long gone. And this also looks like a relatively solid Soul Mirror at a glance as well.
Yeah, not a particularly good Murazond, which I think is number one in Jarla's motivation. It's why he was quick to play Conjurer's Calling that turn, I think, because Murazond playing Conjurer's Calling here would be mostly a disaster for Seiko. There is, of course, one nutty outcome for him, potentially, but unlikely to happen.
Are you surprised that that was just a steal versus the Soul Mirror? Is Seiko really needing the Soul Mirror to go off on a bigger, scarier board?
I like the steal, yeah. I think Soul Mirror is just a far better resource than what you're getting there.
What makes something real?
Balthazar has the weirdest emotes, doesn't he? Or like the weirdest like just phrases he comes out with.
Hello? Those are insane.
Yep.
All in due time.
Exactly.
Works against me.
Yeah, double death rattle really is just the dream, isn't it?
This is kind of the reverse of the opening matchup that we saw last time, where it's actually Jarla being weirdly aggressive in the matchup and dominating the board early.
Oh. Not a bad pickup at all, but maybe this is the Soul Mirror turn? Because then Seiko, although Jarla has the good cards and the good benefits from the death rattle, Seiko just ends up with those as well.
Seiko
And he
agrees.
sort of halfway gets the information, right, that it's the teacher's pet.
Yep. Well, Jarla came out ever so slightly ahead in that exchange, I would argue.
Oh, that is like my ladder experience summed up in one play.
The problem here is like Seiko will know how inelegant this play is because he knows there's the twin spell copy of Conjurer's Calling, right? Where he's left a 4/1 5-drop on the other side of the board. That certainly doesn't feel great. While using his only tool in his hand that would respond to such a board state. It's not pretty. What? Synergy! Incredible scenes.
And this is the great thing about Conjurer's Calling in this matchup is it's a good big board focus turn for Mage that doesn't run into a Murazond.
Exactly, yeah.
Because it just doesn't work. So it's one of those few turns in our interactions that you don't give the Priest the big board plus an 8/8, right?
This is potentially insane, though. The Zaraku this turn? because Jarla had the opportunity to just go all-out aggression against this push from Seiko, right? Like, he could have just Alex Straza'd and pushed, and then potentially just had Frost Nova and push again to back that up if he somehow needed to. But now, that's a big, big, big problem.
He does just have Frost Nova Kartuk and push, what, 12? Put his opponent down to 10? Threaten lethal?
Yep.
The only problem is playing Frost Nova then opens up a Murzond response, which then is a bit scary. But you can't just play around Murzond all the time, so...
Well, he can. You can't tell him what to do. You're not Jarla's dad.
Oh, wait. You can do one better, right? You can fill the board. Oh, no, he's one off.
Wait, what?
Oh,
now where are you?
Because you can hit 3 times, which makes 3 6/6s.
Yeah.
Then ping, which makes another one.
Yeah.
But then he's one more space on the board for the Nova. I mean, I still think that's probably just good, right? Give him 1 space, because then Murzon does nothing anyway, apart from play Frost Nova.
Yo, really hard reset. Interesting.
Okay.
Skips the 1 damage in the case that his Doomsayer gets answered. I think that's fair. Likely deliberate. I think that's certainly pretty logical.
Was it deliberate?
I think it's understandable, right?
But
Like,
did
if
he
it-
just...
Go on.
No, I guess, okay.
Right, like, it's 1 damage weighed against your Doomsayer being able to be cleared. Your Doomsayer being able to be cleared, and then they have a whole other 6/6 on their side of the board.
I guess, yeah.
I think it's fine.
I wonder.
Honestly, because of the... I might have saw myself, but I think because of the way he aimed the ping and then stopped, I thought it was just an order issue where he Nova'd first after those and then thought about the ping and then didn't, because obviously it wouldn't have been frozen as the other 6/6. But I like I said, I might have not seen it correct. It might be... I'm not saying that in any way. Jarla just didn't think about it, so...
These both hit face, more 6/6s get summoned just for BM. Yep. This always happens. It's always the way. Ooh, Radiance pickup for Seiko. Pretty clutch right towards the end there.
Also... okay. You think
Insta.
Seiko wanted...
Insta. You've already waited too long, Jarla. No. Yep. You've let it down.
Seiko wanted that Doomsayer to go off if he couldn't clear the whole board.
I think
so, right?
Jarla wanted it to go off.
Yeah, okay. Just saying, he could have gone Malagos for Poly as well, right?
Yeah.
But that might have actually left too much damage on board for on the backswing from
Right.
Jarla. So
Yeah.
just interesting. That's all. That was just a weird couple of turns, if I'm honest.
It was, yeah. I think it, like,
All in due time.
Jarla was kind of pushing aggressively, but doesn't really have the tools in his deck to back that up. So kind of had to accept that he had to let it go a little bit. But Seiko, being the player who's being pushed against aggressively, was also very happy to just let the situation go. So it kind of comes down to, you know, who was in the right and who was in the wrong to let that situation go, because they both had options to prevent it, and they both chose not to, essentially.
Yeah. Alex Straza instead of a box Sottle. I am honestly surprised. 0 mana Frostbolt. I guess the next best thing if versus a Poly, if Seiko wants to just follow it with a Murazond and get his own 8/8 on board as well.
Seems that way, yeah.
The good thing now is he's sitting on that Radiance too, so even the
Yeah.
Alex Straza he didn't push any health down, but even if it it could have or did, he has the heal to just push back up to 24, which
I bring life.
is a reasonable health total versus Mage.
Yeah, that is extremely healthy. And all these insane minions, even if they don't end up just straight up ending the game right now, are going to go into this raised Deadpool. It's nothing. Okay, it's a start. No, it's not. Never mind. That's not going to be a good look. Never mind. Slowly, piece by piece, these minions are getting chipped apart. We'll get there. We just needed 20 more spells and we actually would have killed them. Cruelly, it was 1 damage short as well, because that's a Flame Ward in play right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think even though I'm always the first person to say, Alex face, go. The fact that he has Broom to like
Insane,
help
right?
clean up if he needs it is huge, isn't it? Because he has the option. He can use Broom to proc the 8-1 and then just kill it off with the second Alex anyway.
Agreed. This turn looks absolutely insane.
Yeah.
If it was Vaporize, that's a little bit worse. If it's Flame Ward, that's probably optimal in this scenario. But yeah, as you said, Broomstick now to give everything rush. Use the Broomstick to trade. Now your Alex trades the new Alex, and you get to push a whole other 8 damage. It is valuing 8 damage over 4 health on your minion, but I think that's probably correct in the scenario.
I agree. And it also has opened up the fact that it's not counterspell, so now he can raise dead freely if he so needs next turn too.
Yeah.
So it's all looking pretty decent here for Seiko. These options are not exactly mind-blowing for Jarla, so he might have to fall back on this rolling fireball, which just sits Jarla on 3 health.
Oh!
And that's definitely at least 3 damage there coming out from the Kronks off the top. And Seiko is going to take that game number 1. Not in the same fashion as the earlier series they played against each other today, but the same end result for game 1 so.
You know, I get way more tilted dying to Kronks than any other card, and it's because I missaw his art for quite a long time. He's holding like the hilt of a sword, I believe, in his hand, but it's positioned kind of like this, where like this is the hilt. So it looks like he's just giving you like the most sarcastic thumbs up like that as he kills you every time. It used to drive me insane. Yeah, Braven's got to confirm that now, so I guess I will cover things from now.
Image check.
Yeah, but regardless, the Kronks off the top was a pretty big game ender for Seiko, because it was a big push, but it was a very, very all-in push. And, you know, when he got forced off the board by the rolling fireball, we could almost have started to see the reversal of what we saw in the early stages of the matchup, where Jarla then sort of started to recover and piece things back together, especially with a Dragon Queen Akstraza in hand, AI as well that he just picked up to get extra resources. So that was a very, very timely thumbs up from the Kronks there at the end.
Yeah, and it's all about now what the players are going to switch to, and if they're going to mimic what happened in their first meeting, in which I'm just going to check. Interestingly enough, at least if my information is correct, Jarla's moved to secondary, but Seiko stayed on primary, whereas he moved to secondary in their match earlier today. I will get a triple check on that, obviously, because the players haven't started the game yet. This is just the information we've got from admins. So, don't 100% that one. But if that's the case, then that is just I guess a thought pattern switch, right? And let's remember, Jarla did win the series, so maybe Seiko thinks he has to switch it up.
Yeah, and exactly. It could just be based on results, because so far they have played 2 games with Seiko's primary, and Seiko has won both of those games. And they've played 2 games with Seiko's secondary, and Seiko has lost both of those games up until this point. So maybe, plans have changed. Because again, remember, this secondary deck isn't a bespoke anti-mage build. It's an anti-priest build that people have theorized during the Swiss is probably good in the mage matchup as well. So it wouldn't be surprising if Seiko had chosen to switch things up a little bit here, but we will be able to confirm it over time as cards get drawn.
Yeah, and I think what's very interesting. Oh, okay. Well, it is confirmed because he removes Breath of the Infinite from his secondary.
Done.
Yeah, so there you go. And what's interesting to me as well is, of course, that the matchups didn't line up with, you said, he's got 2 wins on his primary, but that was versus Jarla's primary as well, right? So it's not as strict then my primary's always better, because you're going against Jarla's secondary in this spot.
Yeah.
But what I will say is, Seiko has won the aggressive style matchups that he's choosing to play, and his secondary is a value-based secondary.
Yes.
So maybe it's even just not the archetype, but the play style general that he's liking keeping hold of here as well. To just say, well, if I aggroed him down in the first games, and Jarla's deck is arguably maybe even more sort of combo/value based in his second, I'm just going to aggro him down again and not even give him the chance to play this long, sort of slow value game. I like it, honestly.
I'm not sure what just happened to Raven there. I'm not sure if you guys hear the same audio issues that I have, but I feel like he just kind of dropped out of stream. Oh, you back? Hello.
Am I back? Oh, did I? Nothing even changed for me.
Oh, you just like cut out halfway through that sentence.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that was only to you, and all you need to know, Saul, don't watch the VOD, but basically I said the most insightful thing you've ever heard, so just respond naturally.
Okay. Wow, that's insane, Raven. Like, I honestly cannot believe the size of your brain right now. You are on some next level stuff.
Clip. Right, okay, perfect. Okay. The Zephyrus coming out from Jarla is going to be the old wild growth, just to really get him going there. And now he does have again, just this steady curve there. Seems to be quite common now of just the Mana Saber. He has that Jandis as well. But I think most importantly here, the Conjurer's Calling could pay off for Jarla. Huge. As long as he gets to stick one of the Jandis minions, I guess.
Right. Still some time away, though. And this early tempo yet again. Seiko is looking like it's going to come into effect. Picks up the untargetable, puts it in the middle. Yeah, some of this greed now coming out from Jarla. He's going to take a beating for it.
And look at this, right? You know, we see the Feywing. Now there's more follow-up as well from Seiko. I imagine... yeah, I was going to say, I imagine unless there's something incredible off the top, the card is going to get played almost just as a tempo play as well, more than anything else. If it dies and then the Zephyrus dies, it does put the Zephyrus as an additional one in his pool for Raised Dead. But yeah, I like this from Seiko, just saying, you know what? I played aggressively and won in the past, so I'm going to play aggressively this time.
Yeah, crucially, when he was playing aggressively, particularly in Game 1 of the first series, he was extremely skillfully navigating around exactly this card, Reno the Relicologist, to make sure that he wasn't getting blown out. Here, he didn't really have the option to do so. And honestly, I think that might just be a big enough roadblock from this point to shut this down, because Jarla's board, if he wants it now, is full of 6-drops.
Could go for the one-mana Reno.
Raven!
But yeah, this looks a little bit stronger, believe it or not.
I brought enough for everyone.
Ooh.
Well, you say
Okay.
that.
I need to add a past tense to that comment, I guess.
Unimpressive. Yeah, Jarla gives the shake of the head. Not the 6s he was looking for.
I was looking as well. Seiko can steal Khadgar. I just don't really know what that achieves, apart from not letting his opponent have Khadgar with a second Conjurer. So maybe that's enough.
Does sound like enough, yeah.
Because he can use his Cobalt to just value trade then instead, right?
Your mind
Yeah.
is not your own.
You might still end up casting the Wave of Apathy. Like, play a different spell first to guarantee the Khadgar steal, then just Wave of Apathy anyway, because it's still just a huge amount of pressure on board.
Or he could do this and just, if he doesn't get it, kill the Khadgar with the 3/5, which again is kind of... The fact that he can always kill the Khadgar if he wants to gives Seiko all the options in the world, right?
And I guess it depends on like how much potential value he could ever get out of Khadgar, which it does seem like pretty close to 0 with his deck. So yeah, doing it this way around does seem like the most efficient. Makes sense to me.
Did you like the embalming ritual on the Acolyte? I know the card is very powerful, but there was a 6/3 you could get to just come back for maybe more damage if he does want to play aggressive. I know it wouldn't be a 6/3, but 6/1. But is there?
Yeah, that's true. I like that it was played either way, because it does seem to suggest that Seiko is still just trying to be as aggressive as possible here and end this quickly. And if you're going to do that, you absolutely have to be mana efficient. You can't be floating mana on any turn when you're playing the aggro deck.
What was really powerful about this turn from Seiko was once one Conjurers is played and you can't clear that board, you know there's another one. And this makes the Conjurers a lot worse.
Yo! Finally! It's happening! 1 mana Keladons!
The one time I didn't suggest potion! Typical!
The sickest Elven Archers you've ever seen in your life, Raven!
Wait, he doesn't want to play the Demon though, right? Isn't the Demon kind of bad?
Yes.
I'm glad
Currently.
we're keeping this tone.
Yeah, 6 damage split among minions when he currently has more health in play is on average going to be a downside for him. There was an argument to say maybe you do still play it because there was just a really nice like 2-1 in particular, which all you have to do is hit once and the rest of the turn's probably fine. But yeah, I think on balance, holding on to it here is probably reasonable.
I wonder.
Yeah, quite the awkward turn here for Seiko. Can just time rip the 6-2 away, but the problem is the follow-up doesn't feel great. A trade and a heal maybe on the Cobalt.
Yeah.
Could just start with Draconic Studies, but then that removes the sort of clean effect of a time rip plus 2 mana.
Wonder.
Sure.
Doesn't feel too great.
Doesn't, does it?
I'll go Sethic instead.
He just really wanted to draw Breath of the Infinite this turn. That was the
Oh,
solution.
Not playable this turn, but not a bad one to pick up from Sethic for free. Well, not for free, but you understand, right? Like, really not a bad card, at least on this board right now. These Conjurers now. Look at that 1-1 that's a 6-drop soul.
I know.
Those stats are going to get bigger.
I know.
Like, even just a flat double trade and then Conjures the 1-1 is a good turn, and Jarla has 4 more mana after that.
Yeah.
Like, ugh.
It's a situation where the wording of Potion of Illusion is very important and very specific. It's a copy of the minion that costs 1. Therefore, it still costs 6 as soon as it gets on the board. It just happens to cost 1 at the time it was in your hand.
Correct.
It does not create a 1-mana version of the card.
Works against me.
Do you think it is pretty important that Jarla doesn't get overly fancy with anything here? I think just a Mana Saber feels fine, right?
Agreed. Trade,
Yeah, I
trade,
like
Mana
this.
Saber. Yep.
I looked at some other options, but you just don't need to mess around, do you? I think this is just a completely solid play.
Agreed.
No, not too many cards here for Seiko. Does have Dragon Queen Alexstrasza, but even that, okay, kind of technically a 9-drop, but really want to put that down on turn 10 to have the extra dragon, which means Seiko's going to have to get there first, and maybe that means using this Zephyrus in a way he might not enjoy.
Oh, that's upsetting me.
Do you think Time Rip is enough? Start with Studies again?
I kind of do, yeah. Like my thought process here is look for a playable here. If you don't get something nutty, which I'm not really sure if anything was good enough to just drop into this board state.
There's DQ plus 1 dragon next turn.
Yeah, exactly. Well, exactly. If you now hold the dragon and don't play it.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think maybe that makes Time Rip just good enough. I don't know. Let's see what he's going to get from Zephyrus.
You'll get Chaos Nova over Brawl here. Yeah. It's upsetting, but like I think most players would probably prefer to Brawl there and have the chance of winning, but my understanding, like Zephyrus assesses Brawl on the average outcome, so therefore it thinks Chaos Nova leaves a 3-1 on board. That's better than the average outcome from Brawl, therefore
Right.
Chaos Nova is what you want. Not necessarily 100% accurate when you're an actual thinking, living, breathing human being with an enormous brain.
That was like multiple levels of insult to Zephyrus there. He doesn't think, he's not a human, he's not got a brain, it's not big, he's not living. Wow. And now I wonder, with what looked like quite a desperate turn there from Seiko, because that was not a nice Zephyrus, was it? If you had any other way to deal with that board, you would have not played Zephyrus.
Agreed.
I think now it's just, you know what? Let's just play more stuff. And this looks like the best option here. Just dump a ton of stuff on board. and just say, okay, well, if that was tough to clear, how about now? And then just keep doing it until he can pile enough pressure on to win.
Jarla is pretty good at Janus. He is an accomplished Janus player. Ooh. Hello, my precious.
The steal's actually very nice on the 3-6 here, isn't it? Along with Wretched.
Well, is it?
Grades getting low.
Like, if you guess wrong, right?
Okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah, you get what I'm saying? You Shadow Madness, it goes off, it
get
kills
it.
the other thing, and then you can't
Sometimes you gotta
kill.
believe.
Yeah. I mean, it's still a guess that way, I guess, but I think the downside is lessened if you do it with Time Rip instead of Shadow Madness.
Yeah, I can get behind that.
I brought enough for everyone.
This looks just a little bit better now. Good one drop.
Oh, the potion value. We've waited all day.
Told you, it was insane.
Yep. Strictly nutty.
You know what I'm looking at, Sol? And its name is very similar to my own. Astromancer Solarium.
Works against me.
I thought you were talking about Caledon, because little known fact, Caledon's surname is also Baguli, just like yours.
Yeah, and that's why it's not on the card name.
Yeah. Caledon the Baguli doesn't quite have quite the same ring to it, does it?
Oh, I don't know. That card sounds sick.
Life and hope of will.
I'm very insistent on convincing people that's actually what your surname is by the time that we're done with this. You know, some people actually think my name is Soddle now with 2 Ds because it keeps coming up on the thing, on like all the media pieces. Yeah,
It is though, isn't it?
yeah, absolutely is. Yeah.
There you go. We can both buy this game. Soddle. That's pretty good Alex Straza there from Seiko, honestly. That's suddenly made this game look a lot more even than it felt in the past few turns. There are removals, of course. The 1-mana Caledon can just snipe at any of these minions that Jarla so chooses, but still, being able to just get the whole board down without really getting the lower impact dragons, say like the 4-attack ones,
Yeah.
is a pretty big deal.
Agreed.
All in due time.
The Caledon Tiamat combination is so strong here, though.
Come closer and burn. Winds of the south.
Snipe, big one. Huge value trades on the taunt. And then finally lock out the last remaining one. Push damage. And that was basically Seiko's big all-in turn. Not a great deal left to be cooking with. But that can turn around pretty quickly. Kobold Spellkin can find more Draconic Studies. Draconic Studies can find more big minions. Shadow Word Death is a nice pickup in the meantime. Renew can pick up some more value as well. Yep,
Oh,
all of that
speaking
is
of
value.
which, so this reads, if you get the nuts, right, you get to keep all 3.
Yeah.
What do you actually pick here? Is Soul Mirror just the correct defensive play to try and fight back? It would give him a Twilight Drake as well.
I think, I have actually played a fair amount of Priest in my time, despite all the jokes at its expense that we have on broadcast. And I can probably count on one hand the amount of times I've been offered a Soul Mirror in any scenario and haven't taken it. It's just so powerful.
The card's just good.
Yep.
But even in this situation, right? Like, yes, it doesn't clear the board, but it would give Seiko a 4-4, which is nothing to be upset about at this point, because it leaves him ahead on board, right?
Yes. I really like this. Anything else you could have done that turn was a little bit scrambly. Like if Spellkin hit a Wave of Apathy, then maybe Spellkin Shadow Word Death was better that turn, for example. But you know, you just don't know that, right? You have to commit first.
Right. And I think if that misses, you kind of just lose, right? Like,
Yeah.
it feels that punishing, right? Is the issue? It looks like it's going to be the other Ray of Frost and then aggro Straza.
Ooh. Did a wild game of Hearthstone just appear, Raven?
Potentially, because this Galakron is super effective right now.
I am beyond imagination.
If Seiko choosing to sequence it like this, so if he hits the Alexstrasza with the Galakron, he'll choose to say... Oh no, he's just double invoked it. Sorry, I'm a moron. I forget that Seiko's deck actually invokes Galakron. I'm so used to Highlander Priest just never having this invoked that I forget that like Seiko plays a couple of extras in a couple of spots.
Yeah, mainly the... I feel like it's the Time Rip. It's one
the
that I've
Time
seen
Rip,
cut a lot, isn't it?
Yep. He also has the Shielded Galakron extra in his secondary deck, but again, he has stuck on his primary this time around.
Correct. And somehow, this is slipping away for Jarla, isn't it?
It actually is, yeah.
Just making noises.
Watch closely.
Yeah, it's like, is this a Reno? It can mess up a lot of the time. It does clear these two minions, but it's so... I think it feels bad to Reno just after the Galakron turn, because you know they can make more minions. Initiation?
Alright, you can
I'm gonna
say
that every single time.
Yeah.
I just think it's good.
I know you do, Raven. I know you do. It is quite strong here. If it wasn't up against Shadow Word Ruin, I think it would be a gimme here against like a lot of other spells. But Shadow Word Ruin is also just immensely powerful in this matchup, so I don't think it's a given. Does end up taking it though, and Raven is a very, very happy boy.
Yeah, I think it's the... Okay, that's funny. I think it's a combination of him having Convincing Infiltrator, Shadow Madness, Shadow Word Death. He has a lot of kind of removal, right? And the initiation, although it is of course removal, it is minion development as well, which I think is where it gets a little bit better than Shadow Word Ruin in this exact situation.
You know what? You convinced me. I'm sold. I will take one initiation to go, please.
It'll only cost you your soul.
Yikes.
Ooh. Power of Creation, though. That can help. The only weird thing is, I would suggest, like, taking a look at that Devolving Missiles, but I actually think he wants to kill this 4/7.
I mean, it is a 4/7. It does devolve very nicely.
Thought I had more time.
More importantly, why don't my Tempo Mage evocations roll like this? 6 spells, 5 of them cost 1? Where's my Sorcerer's Apprentice?
Oh, the Ray of Frost. I honestly didn't even see the Ray of Frost in the flurry of 1-cost spells there.
Oh, it's coming together from Seiko's side, though. Shadow Word Death and Initiation are going to come out huge here.
I was just trying to see if there was a Convincing Infiltrator, Wretched Reclaimer, like pop-off play there, but nah, not quite consistent enough for this.
Yeah, the Initiation is just nutty here, right?
Oh, wait. Oh, okay, sure. I was going to see if he was going to try and set up a steal now that he's got the Subjugator.
Steal it with what? Oh, with the Shadow Madness? I see.
Yeah, but he doesn't need it, right? Like it's
No.
not. It doesn't need to be played now. It's just that it could have been played.
Right.
It's crazy. This matchup it feels like both players have been like value hitting each other for ages. But there's 11 and 14 cards left. It's not like we're that close to fatigue. It's just goes to show how value based and like, you know, just the amount of minions these both these decks play and how much they can keep up like toe to toe with each other. It's impressive, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. And Devolving Missiles does come out pretty big here for Jarla. As I mentioned, that 4/7 plummeted in stats as it got devolved, since it's so overstatted for its cost to begin with. Going with the Death Rattle downside.
Again, another call here. Malygos Tome is a ton of spells for such a cheap cost of 1 mana. The Flame Strike is just the easy sit-back emergency button that you might need. And also the Arcane Missiles, when your opponent's on, you know, getting towards low health, if you've got the board, that is also just a lot of damage for not a lot of cost. Good options there, honestly. Is this the turn? It's like trade into the 2/3 and then convince the Infiltrator and Wretched Reclaimer. That puts a lot on the board to maybe set up for a Krunks next turn.
Sorry, I got distracted by Caladan. What did you say? So value trade, convincing Wretched. Is that what you said?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure, I can see it. I think this Raised Dead opens up slightly more interesting options, though.
Yeah, I did start talking about that before I even saw the Raised Dead get cast. So this, again, the power of Spellkin and Priest is never to be underestimated.
Now there's Wave of Apathy and Subjugator and Shadow Madness all coming together here.
Oh, it's the old Shrinkmeister days, so.
There's also, as long as there's a 2/8 on board, there's Shadow Madness Inner Fire as well, which pushes 8 to Jarla's face at any given point. That's something that does need to be kept an eye on.
Seiko going to be looking for those powered shield discoveries somewhere.
Yeah.
Submit, heretic.
Yeah, just leaves it there. Takes it down to 0, so it can't trade its way off the board.
Oh, I thought Reno was going to be a god then and mark the Malygos.
Yeah. Reno just pops up like Clippy. I see you're trying to play around Shadow Madness Inner Fire. Can I help you with that? That's a Pyroblast.
You got to respect the Pyro.
Yeah, you do. How much damage is this?
17? Right?
Hang on. Shadow Madness the 2/8, Inner Fire it, right? You then have 13 damage, and then you can buff everything with Kronks +2/+2. You're one off, unless there's a way to get more damage than that.
I am a fool. I didn't even count the Malygos.
Is there a way that's more with Wave of Apathy? Wave of Apathy, Shadow Madness, Inner Fire.
Oh yeah, of course.
Is 17, but then you can't fit the Kronks in alongside that. So that's still short. My initial way was more damage.
Oh wait, is he going to Wretched? You just Wretched Reclaimer the Malygos?
Yes, sure. Ah!
Should he have done that first as well in case he got... oh no, no, what am I talking about? Is there any 1 mana buff? There isn't, never mind. Oh! What a weird game of Hearthstone. Is that 7? That's 17 with the Pyro? But that's not enough.
It's not. That was so close that turn, with so many moving parts though, that like, I feel like there had to have been a way almost.
That's a great sentence. There had to have been a way.
Almost. Yeah.
But the problem here is, if it's not Nova, obviously he's in trouble, right?
Yeah.
If it is Nova, well, what's the rest of the play? Because you're not casting, like, what's the follow-up? Like, Nova, Evasive Draconid, and then just push? But we can see there's just Kronks. So if Jarla doesn't heal, which
He
just
can't.
can't. Yeah, and he doesn't get lethal, which I'm pretty
He
sure he just can't.
Yeah.
And I guess he just loses, but obviously he doesn't know this, which still makes this turn very interesting, because what is he going to choose to do? I'm gonna go for the Nova push. Seiko just hoping that there's just nothing crazy coming out here. And there we go. Whoa! That's going to be the game. Seiko takes the victory in a very hard-fought 2-0 series. Jarla can't believe it, but that was just done and dusted. The Kronk's finished up the last bit of damage he needed, and Seiko takes the victory and goes into top 4 on Sunday. Wow, honestly, for a 2-0 win, which sounds one-sided, that series was anything but. Like, those games were so close. Oh, crazy.
Yeah, that was an awesome series and a really unconventional line, like overall strategy line in the series from Seiko to divert from what he did in the opener. Don't have full details in like necessarily whether players played like primary, secondary, tertiary during Swiss, during the encounters potentially that Seiko had against Mage if they ever came up. But diverting from the first strategy where he lost to then just reverse essentially with like this weird methodical aggro priest style has got him over the line. He's going to join Tice now going through to Sunday. But once again, incredible showing from Jarla. We have now had 6 weeks of Swiss qualification this year for Grandmasters, and Jarla has made the broadcast, meaning he has qualified in all 6 of those, which is absurd. That is consistency on another level in a game where consistency should be celebrated more than, spikes and big one-off tournament wins, and perhaps isn't. So I certainly feel obligated to say that that is an achievement from Jarla, which is, statistically as impressive as just about anything that we have seen.
Yeah, and the thing is, although we could see Jarla a little bit frustrated with the way the series ended, fair enough, no one's that happy to lose, but he has to just forget about it all now. 3 weeks of Swiss is done. He's done his job and done it very well. He's got so many points that I am 99% certain, I don't want to commit till we have Blizzard confirmation, that he's in Division A, which is, that's your goal for the 3 weeks of Swiss, right? Is get into Division A. Yes, you want to do it in the fanciest way, win every week or whatever, but as long as you've made Division A, done. That's job number 1 finish. So anyway, just want to echo what you're saying. Like, Jarla, great result, but also a good one for Seiko. He took the loss in the first match and fought all the way back up to be able to get through to top 4, and with some really cool play, honestly. For the amount of priest we've cast today, I've enjoyed it more than I thought I would, if I'm honest. So I think the matchups are very interesting, and the way the players are choosing to play is different. I don't think there's just a 1, 2, 3 rule book on how to play priest right now, and whether you enjoy the deck or the class or not, that does make it very interesting and exciting. But really crazy day overall, Sol. But any final words before we wrap it up?
I mean, firstly, it's what, 6:30, and we're about to wrap it up. Like, what is going on here, Raven? Specialist is nutty. This best format by far. Yeah, I mean, the majority of that was down to the fact that APAC was literally like 32 minutes long or something. Yeah, it was absolutely absurd. Honestly, I don't even know how those casters can look themselves in the eye and feel like they've done a good day's work at the end of the day. It's unbelievable. But genuinely, I do really love these rotating formats throughout the first 3 weeks. So as we're coming to an end to it here in Europe, I have enjoyed our little flirtation into Specialist, and we kind of have a very similar story to look forward to tomorrow, where we have the 2 priests and then the 2 people that have succeeded through potentially countering priests, with
Right.
Viper being thrown into the mix, who I really think is the most interesting one that we need to keep an eye on, because he did something that maybe I expected a couple more people to do, and that's just kind of bank on that priest matchup and bring Zoo to the proceedings to beat people up. So stay tuned for tomorrow, because you do not want to miss that one. I think it's going to be a great day at Hearthstone.
Yeah, we've got all weekend of Hearthstone coming up for you guys. There'll be APAC kicking off before us, of course, as is the norm tomorrow. But now we're going to head over to the Americas region, if they're awake, with TJ and Frodan bringing you their first day of Specialist format for this week of Swiss. So again, Sol and myself, thanks a lot for watching. We hope you enjoyed it and have fun watching Americas. We'll see you tomorrow.